Lights out to more racing in MotoGP here in Goiânia. Brilliant start in the middle of that front row by Marco Bezzecchi, and once again he leads the field. He's led every single one of our last three races in the top class. He's got the drop on Fabio Di Gianantonio. Marc Marquez there in third place. He briefly lost that third, didn't he, to Fabio Quartararo, but Marco Bezzecchi at the front once again.
Jorge Martin with a very good start too. He's right up behind Marc Marquez. Quartararo this time going backwards. He's lost at least 3 places.
Unbelievable this by Marco Bezzecchi. Led every single lap in Portimao, led every single lap in Valencia at the end of 2025, led all laps in Boram last time round, and once again back in very, very familiar territory. He leads fellow Italian Di Gianantonio.
Pedro Acosta's made an incredible start. He's up to 5th place right up behind Martin. Took him so long to make any progress yesterday, but already the World Championship leader is up into the top 5.
Yeah, Fabio Quartararo's dropped back down into 10th place. He's just behind Ayagura and Joan Mir into the chicane. 10 and 11 then for the first time. You can just see there Quartararo running over the inside curve. He's got Fermin Aldeguer directly behind him on that special Alex Barros Brazilian livery.
Shocking start for Pecco Bagnaia. He's dropped 3 further places. He's now down in 14th place, mired in the midfield.
So we've got Acosta, Mir, Quartararo, Razgatlioglu, Rins and Marini on Michelin's soft rear tyre. How decisive could that be, with 8 laps slashed off the full race distance? Marco Bezzecchi then leads over the line at 1:23.325, his opening salvo, as Mir comes from a long, long way back on Agura. Is he going to get the Honda stops? He is. Oh, Di Gianantonio's gone wide. Di Gianantonio makes a mistake going into the first corner, and Marc Marquez pounced on another Di Gianantonio mistake, just as he did in the sprint yesterday.
Yeah, it was a late mistake yesterday, a very early one today. Marco Bezzecchi, as a result of that, is 7/10 up the road in the lead of this Grand Prix. Marc Marquez up into 2nd place. We've had a crash. Unfortunately, the 200th Grand Prix for Jack Miller only lasted a lap and a quarter.
Bezzecchi then that is that leads. Here we go then now through turn 11. This is 12 yesterday late on, where Di Gianantonio lost the lead and the win in the sprint.
Fabio Quartararo has lost further ground. He's now out of the top 10 in 11th place. Acosta shaping for a move up the inside of Jorge Martin. Acosta up into 4th place. That was Mir attacking Zarco too. Of course, Mir and Acosta on the soft rear tyre, both flying up the order.
Well, you knew that Acosta from 9th had to be ultra aggressive at the start of this Grand Prix. He has not disappointed, has he, at all? Marc Marquez and Marco Bezzecchi, first riders in this Grand Prix into the 118s. They exchange 118.8. Bezzecchi led over the line by just over half a second.
Joan Mir also with rapid paces. Brad Binder's crashed out on the teammate to Acosta, the bike we're looking at from Jorge Martin. Binder, who was running in 17th place down the Grand Prix, but as mentioned, Mir also has front running pace. He did a 1:19.1 last time around. That was the same pace as Marquez and Digia, as Martin now attacks Acosta and takes back 4th place.
Yeah, that mistake by Binder has promoted Diogo Moreira, the home crowd favourite, up into 17th place. Martin then going toe-to-toe with Pedro Acosta. We've been waiting for a fully fit and fully confident Jorge Martin to show his credentials on that factory Aprilia. Well, we're finally seeing what he's capable of doing on that RSGP, and it's spectacular to watch. 3rd in yesterday's sprint, back up now into P4 in the Grand Prix.
Marc Marquez coming under intense pressure from Fabio Di Gianantonio, who carves up the inside, and Jorge Martin says thank you very much.
Yeah, and we have now an Aprilia 1-2, don't we? Yeah, we do. So Jorge Martin then says, well, I'll take the early Christmas gift. We have now the factory Aprilia 1-2, as Lewis said. Martin then now up into 2nd place. He's nearly 2 seconds adrift of Bezzecchi. They've had one of the Aprilia 1-2, didn't we, in Barcelona in 2023, Aleix Espargaro and Maverick Vinales. But the RSGP is now the reference motorcycle, isn't it, in MotoGP as it stands right now?
Yeah, we asked the question after what we saw in Boram, are Aprilia the reference? Well, I think we all thought, right, let's see a little bit more evidence, let's see a different racetrack, different conditions, different challenges, and once again, it is all Aprilia at the front of the field, and already Jorge Martin is not only gapping the 2 behind him, but he's chipping away at Marco Bezzecchi's lead. At the point that Martin took 2nd place, it was 2.2 seconds, it's already down to 2 seconds, at 1:18.803 for Martin, 2/10 quicker than Bezzecchi. Remember, he was passing 2 people while doing that.
A terrible lap that by Bez, a 1:19 flat, sluggish pace. He's still comfortably clear, 2 seconds ahead of Martin. Giacomo Agostini, Valentino Rossi and his great pal Pecco Bagnaia, previous Italians in MotoGP history to win 4 on the spin. And barring any late dramas, barring any late disasters, it looks like it's going to be 4 on the spin as far as Bezzecchi is concerned. picked up his pace on that previous lap. He was back in the 118, just responding, maybe just seeing on his pit board that his gap down to Jorge Martin had just come down to 1.7, 1.8. Did he have a response? You bet he did. And now he's back in the 118s himself.
It's Aprilia then versus Aprilia at the moment at the front of the race, with Martin putting half a second between himself and this Ducati battle as Marc Marquez gets a little bit hot there into turn 10, and a bit of a grimace and a shake of the head for Gigi Dall'Igna. He's not had this feeling very often in the last few years, has he?
Well, he was the former technical mastermind of Aprilia, wasn't he? Pre-2014 when he first jumped over to Ducati. Well, it's his old paymasters at the moment that are mastering the MotoGP World Championship. Marco Bezzecchi, once again, is a 119 flat. Slightly quicker behind him were Martin and the Gian Antonio. Have to say Marc Marquez there in fourth place. Don't know whether Marc just maybe biding his time, manning his tyres to launch a potential late attack on Martin and Diggio ahead of him, but he hasn't really made. Somebody's gone down.
Yep, so it's not Marco Bezzecchi. You can see him
somewhere.
Top left of your screen. I think it might be Pecco Bagnaia, who had just taken 11th place. Unfortunately, though, he is now out of this Grand Prix. His miserable start to 2026 continues.
Well, a lot of people wondered whether there was going to be any kind of hangover from his dismal 2025. And we're getting our answer at the moment. Down he goes into the first corner in pursuit of Johann Zarco's LCR Honda, and that's the exact same crash that Zarco had himself in the sprint yesterday. Oh dear, Bagnaia, Joan Mir. It's another double DNF
from 7th place
for Joan Mir. Yesterday he got a bit of a helping hand into the gravel trap after Raul Fernandez's early aggression in the sprint. This one though is all of his own doing as he rolls off the side of the tyre going into turn 4.
Yeah, this is a Grand Prix, as I mentioned on the warm-up lap, of survival. No one is guaranteed any kind of result until they see the checkered flag waving in their face. As we look overhead once again, as Bezzecchi puts a serious response in to Jorge Martin there. A 1:18.654. Bezzecchi with the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, saying to Jorge Martin, hey teammate, I've got this one firmly under control.
That is a 34th GP DNF in 58 for HRC for Joan Mir. What a miserable experience he's had in Goiânia. As Pedro Acosta on the inside of Alex Marquez. Well, whatever room there was there, he decided to take it come what may, didn't he? Alex Marquez then trying to line him up on the exit of the final corner. Marco Bezzecchi will be taking the World Championship lead as it stands right now. That's why Pedro Acosta's fighting tooth and nail to try and limit the damage, and having compromised his exit speed with the aggressive entry into 13, Alex Marquez does dish out some instant retaliation and wrestles back P5.
And Ayagura with the front row seat of this battle in P7, and he'll be once again a little bit frustrated with the pace he has, but he can't use any of it because once again he is stuck in traffic. It was Fabio Quartararo that he was staring at for much of the sprint yesterday. This time it's Acosta and Alex Marquez, because you fancy that Agura would have the pace to be in this Diggio Marc Marquez battle if he could just clear the pair ahead of him.
This is just dreamland, isn't it, right now for Aprilia? What a motorcycle they have created for the likes of Jorge Martin and Marco Bezzecchi. Those two are delivering, aren't they, here on Sunday in Brazil. Bezzecchi 1.9 clear of Martin. What has Marc Marquez got left late on? He said in Buriram he was just happy to save energy and save rubber, crucially, as he was trying to find a way to close in on Raul Fernandez late on in that Thai Grand Prix before that real freak tyre incident brought him out of contention. Is this now the plan for Marc? Is he just going to wait and try and rescue third place here late on from the Gian Antonio? He can forget about the Aprilias, they are long gone.
They are exchanging mid to high 18s. Personal best for Martin on 18.7 last time round, but Bezzecchi a 10th quicker. And here's another Aprilia making moves up the order. Ayagura now into the top 6 at the expense of Acosta. Pecco Bagnaia not even in this Grand Prix, and already after 2 Grand Prix weekends, Bagnaia just with 10 points to his name.
Not at the races at all. Has he been? A bit of chaos that's ensued ahead of him has seen Diogo Moreira elevated up into 13th place. You can just see him there. He's just ahead of Frankie Morbidelli. He's got Alex Rins directly ahead of him on circuit. Credit to Alex Rins. He's doing a pretty solid job out there at the moment, a respectable job to keep Yamaha inside the points going places. Fabio Quartararo at the moment on course for a rather fortuitous single point. And they have Bastianini on the last lap has picked off Toprak Razgatlioglu for 16th.
Yeah, that's a consolation prize at best, isn't it, for the Beast after the weekend he's had. That's a three-way battle at the moment. Quartararo, Bastianini and Toprak, 15th, 16th and 17th. This is the battle now for third place, both in the 118s on the last lap. Didier and Marc Marquez, but unfortunately the horse, or horses, called the Aprilias, have bolted up at the front of the race. Didier's doing his level best. He just did his personal best on a 118.8, matched by Marc Marquez. So Didier is trying to prove a bit of a point here to Marc Marquez, that I've got everything it takes to hold you off in a head-to-head battle, which he didn't yesterday. He's still got another 6 laps to keep the world champion behind.
Yeah, which ain't going to be an easy task, is it, at all? It was a task that he was almost up to in the sprint yesterday, kept Marquez at bay until a couple laps from the end of the sprint, but he's got it all on here, because Marc Marquez is really starting to put that pressure firmly on the 49.
Potentially starting to come back at Martin a little bit the last couple of laps. You can see a bit of movement there for Marc Marquez around turn 6. On the last lap they were a 10th quicker than Jorge Martin. Already on this lap so far they've pulled another 10th and a half back. Don't think Martin or Aprilia will be panicking just yet, but Martin might need to just squeeze a little bit more pace out of that Aprilia just to safeguard that second place.
Now, I'm not Jorge Martin and I'm not Jorge Martin's representatives, but these kind of performances are making it harder and harder to fathom why he would potentially, if you believe the rumours, be jumping out of the factory Aprilia squad to Yamaha.
Leading Yamaha at the moment, by the way, is in 14th place. Alex Rins, who is, some 15 or so seconds and change back from the race leader as the battle for third continues. Yeah, it's a bit of a conundrum for Jorge Martin. Who knows? Jorge Martin might well be in the running to challenge for a second MotoGP world title this season. If this Aprilia is the dominant package in the first 2 Grand Prix, that is over the next 20, of course, still an awful long way to go in the season, and Ducati will not take this line down. But Aprilia, as we've discussed, surely at the moment have the reference motorcycle. Do we have a new favourite already at this stage for the MotoGP World Championship? I tell you what, if Aprilia go to Austin next weekend and do this again, as Marc Marquez, the king of Cota, is putting some manners on Fabio Di Giannantonio, this is a bit of a personal duel, isn't it? Marc Marquez back into third place.
Listen to the roar of the Brazilian fans. They've got Diogo Moreira running in the point scoring place down in 13th place, but as he is all around the world, Marc Marquez is so popular. He's going to lose some drive though, isn't he, now coming out of turn 12? Marc Marquez, and he had to wait for a mistake from Di Giannantonio to seize the lead in the sprint yesterday. This time he's decided to take matters into his own hands. That was aggressive, wasn't it, by Marc, going through that 6-7 complex, the 2 left-handers. So then, Didier, have you got anything to try and fight back and deny Marc Marquez his first Grand Prix podium of 2026?
Of course, Didier put a pretty tough move on Marc early on, which released Martin through. Didier, much like he did in the sprint yesterday, was able to get up alongside Marc Marquez, but can't outbrake him into the first corner. And is this deja vu for Didier 24 hours on? This was the move. Marc Marquez, bit of a block pass, but perfectly legitimate. Just stuffed it up the inside of Fabio Di Giannantonio and said, Didier, you can tip it in as much as you want, but I've got the high ground, I've got the inside line, and I've got your third place.
That's how close it was. That is how close it was. It's the old cliche, isn't it? Rubbing his racing. Di Giannantonio's got back ahead of Marc Marquez. You can see the live picture-in-picture screen there. And Di Giannantonio, well, fair play to him. Fabio is fighting fire with fire here. What a battle this is for the final place on the podium. Certainly is going to cost him the chance to reel in Jorge Martin for second. But Fabio Di Giannantonio, just as you knew he wouldn't, he ain't taking this line down.
Yeah, so we'll just sort of trying to keep an eye on it. The top of the Canyon screen. Did Marc make a mistake, or did Didier just deal out some revenge? We're going to see it now. Marc Marquez just wide, much like Didier was yesterday in the sprint. This time it was Fabio on the receiving end. Yeah,
Marc was nearly down there, wasn't he? Going through 11, and now he's got to do all the hard work over again. Just about 2.5 laps remaining here in Brazil. Marco Bezzecchi in cruise control here in Goiânia. We pick up the runaway race leader, who just is getting so accustomed to seeing clear tarmac ahead of him. Is he going to be your pick for rider of the race? What about Di Giannantonio or Marc Marquez in their epic fight once again for a podium position?
Final lap begins for Marco Bezzecchi. Martin did a 19.5 on the last lap, lost 7 tenths to Fabio Di Giannantonio, but the good news for the Martinator is he's got one more lap to survive.
It has once again been an exhibition in fast starting, fast pace, and then controlling a Grand Prix at the front from Marco Bezzecchi. he is going to join a very illustrious group of riders. This is 78 years, 77 years of the MotoGP World Championship. Previously, only 13 had ever won 13. 4 successive MotoGP races. This is the historic moment beckoning for Bez. And let's be honest, he's not really been flustered, has he? He has not really been pressured. He's made it look so easy. It isn't, trust us. But Marco Bezzecchi is laying down a gauntlet here. He is throwing down a big marker. He ended 2025 with 2 wins in a row. He started in 2026 with 2 wins in a row. Catch me if you can's the message.
It's getting even better for Aprilia. Gura's just taken 5th from Alex Marquez, but Marco Bezzecchi, is he about just to underline his status as MotoGP World Championship favourite?
Marco Bezzecchi was utterly brilliant in Buram to start 2026, and there's been a repeat. Bezzecchi has been brilliant here in Brazil. He wins our first Brazilian Grand Prix in 22 years. He absolutely destroyed the field once again. Winner in Thailand by over 5 seconds. Winner here today in Goiânia by over 3 seconds. Jorge Martin completes a fairy tale 1-2 for the factory Aprilia squad. A first Grand Prix podium since he won the World Championship at Barcelona in 2024 for Martin. Fabio Di Gianantonio does win out in another personal duel with Marc Marquez, despite the fact on the last lap of that Grand Prix, Marc did put in his best lap of the race, a 1:18.679, but it was not good enough. Di Gianantonio holds on for the podium. Ayagura got Alex Marquez for 5th on the last lap. The fireworks start, the firecrackers are underway, and on fire is Marco Bezzecchi on the factory Aprilia. He takes the lead in the MotoGP World Championship. Only Valentino Rossi, Marc Marquez, Jorge Lorenzo and Pecco Bagnaia had won 4 successive Grand Prix in the modern era.
What a day it is for Aprilia as Marco Bezzecchi and Jorge Martin make it a 1-2. Fabio Di Gianantonio gets his revenge on Marc Marquez, taking the final podium place. It's another top 5 for Ayagura. He beats Alex Marquez and Pedro Acosta, with Fermin Aldeguer in 8th. Zarco Fernandez complete the top 10.